Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. What we're going to do is we're going to talk about the triangle proportionality theorem. Proportionality is a long word, big syllables, but pretty simple things we need to look at, okay? So the proportionality theorem talks about proportions within triangles, okay? What we have to have is we have to have some parallel lines, okay? And we have to have a triangle. So what we're going to have is we're going to look at pictures where we have triangles that are separated by parallel lines, okay? So we're going to have things that look like this, okay? So let's talk about it through some examples. So the first example that I have here is find US. So here I have a set of parallel lines, and using the proportionality theorem, we're going to be able to find US. US is X, okay? So that's what we're looking for. Now, proportionality theorem means we have to look at proportions. And so your job is to figure out what has to go on top and bottom in a proportion. And what this means basically is this. If you have two sets of parallel lines, then this line right here is cutting this thing into proportions. And the proportionality theorem says this. If you take the small piece, which is X on this side, and you set it over the larger piece, which is 14, it's going to be equal to the small piece. Let me use a different color for you. The small piece over here over the larger piece over here. So you're going to have something that looks like this. So if you take the parts, you can set them over each other that way. And that's the proportionality theorem. So again, small over big equals small over big. So you can cross multiply, and what you're going to get is you're going to get 10x equals 56. You're going to divide by 10, and x is going to equal 5.6. And so that's how you do the proportionality theorem. Now, sometimes in the proportionality theorem, we don't know all the parts. We have to have the parts to be able to do this. So here's a problem where we don't have all the parts. Now, if you notice, we have the whole thing, right? So if we have the whole thing, we have to figure out what the part is, and that's what we're going to talk about. But every time you start one of these problems, what you want to do is you want to go ahead and set up a proportion. Now, one thing we do know is we have down here this small part, right, over the big part. So let's do that. Small over big. We also know the small part of the other portion, right, which is 6. So 6 is going to go over something. Well, that something is this piece. Now, that piece is not 3x plus 4. 3x plus 4 is the whole thing. So in order to find this piece, right, this question mark, we have to subtract off the whole thing from our piece that is 6. So if I subtract those off, that will give me this little question mark. And so when I do that, I can do my like terms, and my like terms are -4 and -6 here, right? I'm sorry, it's +4. So this is +4. My bad. So 3x plus 4 minus 6. So we have a +4 and a -6. And that's going to make 3x minus 2. So that part goes here. So this is 3x minus 2. Which is this piece right here. So now you can cross multiply, same way we did. And what we have is we have 5 times 6, which is 30. And that's going to be equal to 3 parentheses 3x minus 2, because you have to cross multiply. Continuing this problem, if you distribute, you're going to get 30 equals 9x minus 6. You're going to add 6 to both sides. That's going to give you 36 equals 9x. When you divide, x will equal 4. And so sometimes, like I said, all you got to do is figure out what that part is. To do that, you have to subtract. So part small over big equals small over big. You can't do small over whole, okay? Because those aren't proportional. But that's how you set them up. Let's do one more. So again, we don't know this part, so we have to find that. But we can start to set up our proportion, right? So we have small over big equals small over big. So small is 4 over big, which is 20. So 4 over 20 equals small on this side, which we don't know, we have to figure it out, over big, which is 3x plus 4. So to figure out this piece, we have to subtract again. But this time, the whole thing is 30. So we're going to do 30 minus parentheses, because you have to include the entire expression in terms of the subtraction. So you cannot just subtract 3x off. So you're going to distribute the negative, right? So that's going to give you 30 minus 3x minus 4. My like terms are 30 and negative 4, which make 26 minus 3x. So that means my portion that I need to put on top, the small part, is 26 minus 3x. And now we're going to do the same thing. We're going to cross multiply. And what we get is we get 20 parentheses 26 minus 3x equals 4 parentheses 3x plus 4. Now we're going to distribute. We're going to distribute on both sides, right? So we're going to do 20 times 26, which is 520, minus 60x equals 12x minus 16. Now you have to move your 60x to both sides. And then you need to add 16 to both sides. So you get 520 plus 16 gives you 536. I'm sorry, this is a positive 4. I tried to put a negative there. That's a positive. So we got to subtract 16. So we're going to subtract 16 off, not add. So 520 minus 16 gives me 504. And when I add the 60, it gives me 72x. Now I'm going to divide. 504 divided by 72 gives me 7. So x equals 7. So the big thing is just making sure that you set the parts up right. So small over big equals small over big, and then you can solve it out the way that you know how to. But just make sure that when you're subtracting, if you subtract off a quantity, that you have to distribute this negative. Okay? I accidentally put the minus 4 here that I saw up here instead of it being the plus 4. So we just have to pay attention to those things. Okay? All right, so if you need anything, let me know. That's how you do the triangle proportionality theorem.